Peabody's coach, Charles Smith, is a living legend here in Cenla. And this past weekend, he was recognized on the national level by being one of 13 members inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame in this year's class. Coach Smith is the 5th high school basketball coach to be inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. Smith has won 10 state championships at Peabody Magnet High School, with 2 seasons having a perfect 41-0 record. But above all of the success, Coach Smith is a humble man who cares about his community and the success of his student athletes. Little Cakes with a Big Attitude honored Coach Smith and his accomplishments, and he gave a little advice on how he has become a legend.
There was a point in time, my first 2 years of coaching, I thought that this wasn't for me. But my wife, which is my strength, stayed with me and encouraged me to keep working and keep working hard. And after 54 years of her support, so I would say to the young people that it doesn't happen overnight. Life is a process. It's a process that you go through. It's a growing process. And I would encourage the young people to be patient, take advantage of each moment, and use life as a building block from year to year.